The arrogance of the Galactic Legions. The Galactic Dominion was a monument to technological supremacy. It had ruled the stars for over 1,000 cycles, uniting hundreds of species under a single doctrine: efficiency through superior technology. Every soldier was cybernetically enhanced, guided by artificial intelligence, and equipped with energy-based weaponry that could incinerate entire squads in an instant. And yet, for all their advancements, the Dominion had made one glaring mistake. They had underestimated humanity. Sergeant Erin Carter knew this better than anyone. She and her sniper team stood at the fringes of the Dominion's massive war machine, treated as little more than relics of a bygone era. In the eyes of the alien officers, humans were primitive, unpredictable, and worst of all, stubbornly reliant on outdated tactics. The Dominion saw little use for kinetic-based weaponry, calling it archaic. They laughed at the very idea of snipers, calling them woman weapons, a term coined by Commander Vorkal, the reptilian officer who oversaw the human auxiliary forces. "This is war, not a hunting trip," Vorkal sneered during the latest war briefing, his yellow eyes locking onto Erin with disdain. "If you must fight, use real weapons. Plasma, rail cannons, something with precision beyond a mere organic eye." Erin sat in the meeting room, stone-faced. She had heard this speech before. The Dominion believed in overwhelming force. Huge energy barges, drone swarms, and brute force planetary sieges. Precision was an afterthought to them, a luxury rather than a necessity. The meeting continued with Unit 92, the Dominion's AI strategist, mapping out the upcoming planetary defense operation. Standard orbital bombardment will clear landing zones. Dominion ground forces will deploy in formation Theta 9, ensuring maximum fire coverage. Human auxiliaries will be stationed at secondary posts to provide supplementary fire support where necessary. In other words, sit in the back and watch. Erin exchanged glances with her second-in-command, Corporal Jason Park, who leaned closer and whispered, "You think they'll still be laughing when their fancy toys don't work?" "They always laugh," she muttered back, voice low. "Until they don't." The mission was straightforward, or so the Dominion believed. A minor industrial colony on Varlis. 12 had been targeted by the Kragorian horde, a brutal species of war beasts known for their organic armor and savage tactics. The Dominion expected an easy victory. After all, Kragorians were primitive creatures, barely capable of interstellar travel. But Erin knew better. She had fought them before, and she knew exactly how this was going to go. The first shots of the battle came from high orbit. Massive Dominion warships rained down energy bombardments, scorching the land below in a display of overwhelming firepower. Explosions rippled across Varlis 12's surface, turning city blocks into smoldering ruins before the Kragorians had even been spotted. Vorkal stood on the bridge of the command ship, watching the carnage unfold with a smug sense of satisfaction. "See, Sergeant Carter," he said, gesturing at the burning landscape below. "This is how wars are won, not with woman weapons, with power." Erin remained silent. She had seen these kinds of attacks before, wasteful, destructive, and ultimately ineffective. On the surface, Dominion shock troopers landed in coordinated waves, deploying plasma rifles and drone support as they advanced through the ruined cityscape. The operation appeared to be going smoothly at first. The Kragorians had been silent, no signs of retaliation. Then the screaming started. From the shadows of ruined buildings, the Kragorian horde struck. Their bioarmored warriors resisted plasma fire, shrugging off energy blasts like water rolling off stone. Dominion weapons, designed for efficiency, had no impact against their reinforced hides. It was a massacre. Erin watched from a reconnaissance outpost as the supposedly superior Dominion forces were torn apart in brutal close combat. Officers barked orders, drones scrambled to provide support, but it was all chaos. The Kragorians had adapted. Their weapons, crude but brutally effective, tore through cybernetic enhancements and Dominion battle armor. War beasts the size of tanks crushed entire platoons beneath their claws. AI-guided artillery, which had been designed to target mechanical threats, struggled against the unpredictable organic movements of the horde. Vorkal's voice crackled through the comms, his once arrogant tone replaced by rage and desperation. All units, hold position. Reinforcements are inbound. Erin let out a slow breath, gripping her sniper rifle. This is it. She switched to her squad's private frequency. Team, you see what I see? Jason's voice came through, calm and steady. Clear as day. They're getting slaughtered. Think they're ready for some woman weapons yet. A pause, then a chuckle. They will be. Erin toggled to the command frequency, her voice sharp. Commander Vorkal, if you want to live through the next hour, you're going to listen very carefully. Silence. Then, grudgingly, Vorkal answered. Speak. Erin smiled grimly, already adjusting her scope. First lesson, never underestimate patience. She took the shot. The battlefield changed in an instant. The fall of Dominion pride. Commander Vorkal had always believed in strength. Dominion war doctrine was built on overwhelming firepower, advanced AI coordination, and cybernetically enhanced soldiers who could outmatch any foe. Yet here he was, standing amidst the wreckage of his grand strategy, watching his forces get systematically dismantled. The Kragorian horde had turned the battlefield into a slaughterhouse. Dominion troopers, so reliant on AI guidance, were struggling. Plasma weapons, designed for precise disintegration, failed against the bio-armored Kragorians. Their organic plating diffused heat energy, rendering the Dominion's primary arsenal all but useless. The Kragorians knew this. They pressed their advantage, hacking through soldiers with massive cleaver-like weapons, their roars drowning out the panicked comm chatter. Vorkal clenched his clawed fist as he watched from an elevated command post, his yellow eyes darting between the scattered reports on his holo display. It made no sense. His forces should have won this battle before it even began. Yet they were losing. Badly. Commander, a panicked officer, a cybernetically enhanced cephalon, stumbled toward him. Half of his mechanical augmentations were sparking, leaking fluid. We need to withdraw. We need. The officer's head snapped backward. A massive Kragorian spear lodged in his chest. Vorkal flinched as the cephalon's body crumpled. The horde was already breaking through the command perimeter. For the first time in his career, Vorkal felt something alien crawl up his spine. Fear. Then, a single shot rang out. A Kragorian warrior, larger than the rest, had been charging toward the command post with bloodied war axes in both hands. His forward momentum suddenly halted as a precise, kinetic round punched through his eye socket. The beast collapsed mid-stride, twitching once before going still. Vorkal turned his head sharply, stunned. Another shot. Another Kragorian fell, its head snapping backward before it even registered its own death. Then another, and another. The chaos of the battlefield shifted. The unstoppable tide of the horde faltered, confusion rippling through their ranks. It was the snipers, the humans. Vorkal's comms crackled. Erin Carter's voice, steady as ever, cut through the static. Lesson 2, Commander, she said, her tone carrying a razor's edge. Technology fails. Training doesn't. Across the ruined battlefield, Erin's sniper team worked like a well-oiled machine. She lay prone on the crumbling rooftop of a Dominion artillery post, her rifle braced against a broken column. Through her scope, the battlefield was a chessboard, and she was removing key pieces one by one. Her squad, Jason Park, Nadia Voss, and Raul Ortega, were stationed at different high-ground positions. Each of them had a specialized loadout: armor-piercing rounds, high-velocity kinetic rounds, and incendiary payloads, all designed for precision kills. Dominion forces had scoffed at their primitive ballistic weapons. Now, those same weapons were cutting through the enemy with terrifying efficiency. Erin adjusted her aim, tracking a Kragorian commander barking orders to his underlings. Big bastard. He's holding them together. She exhaled, squeezed the trigger. The round traveled the distance in less than a second. The commander's skull exploded, a spray of dark green ichor painting the warriors behind him. The Kragorians hesitated. The humans were invisible, striking from unseen perches, their weapons bypassing the very armor that had made them invincible to Dominion energy weapons. The tide was turning. Vorkal's mind struggled to process what he was witnessing. The humans, whom he had mocked for their outdated methods, were winning this battle for them. His ego fought against the realization, but facts didn't care about pride. He switched his comms to Erin's frequency. His voice was strained, but he forced himself to speak the words he never thought he'd utter. "What are your orders, Sergeant?" Silence for a beat. Then, Erin's voice, calm and sure. "Pull your men back behind the red line. Keep them in cover. The moment they stop running around like idiots, we'll handle the rest." Vorkal bristled. No human had ever dared to speak to him this way. But right now, he had no choice. He turned to his remaining officers. "Pull back behind the red line," he ordered. The officers hesitated. "That's an order." Reluctantly, the Dominion troops followed the command, retreating to the designated fallback position. Erin's voice returned over the comms. "Good. Now watch how humans do war." From the shadows of collapsed buildings, human spotters moved, feeding real-time targeting data to their snipers. Each kill was calculated, chosen with surgical precision. The Kragorians, creatures of brute force, had no counter to this kind of warfare. Without their warlords coordinating the assault, the horde devolved into confusion. Then came a next phase. Nadia Voss deployed micro-detonation rounds, strategically placed along Kragorian choke points. The explosives were small but powerful, using old-fashioned kinetic force rather than plasma. When the Kragorians unknowingly stepped into the kill zone, boom! The explosion sent dozens of warriors flying, severing their battle lines even further. A deep, rumbling growl echoed from the far side of the battlefield. Erin shifted her scope. The Kragorians were deploying their dreadbeast. It was a towering monstrosity, all muscle and armor, with a hide so thick it had withstood orbital bombardments in past conflicts. The Dominion had never successfully killed one without a full fleet engagement. Jason's voice crackled through the squad comms. "I hate those things. Park incendiary rounds. Aim for the secondary nerve cluster," Erin ordered. "On it." Jason adjusted his aim, targeting a small, vulnerable patch of exposed flesh just beneath the dreadbeast's left eye. He fired. The shot struck true. The beast roared in pain, staggering. Erin didn't hesitate. She adjusted her scope and fired a single, perfectly placed shot through the dreadbeast's open maw, straight into the soft tissue of its brainstem. The monster froze, then collapsed. The battlefield went silent. The Kragorians, seeing their war beast fall, finally broke. What had been a savage, unstoppable charge turned into a full-blown retreat. The battle was over. Vorkal stood amidst the smoldering ruins of his once proud command post, watching as the last of the Kragorians disappeared into the distance. For the first time in his life, he was speechless. Erin Carter walked up beside him, rifle slung over her shoulder. She didn't smirk, didn't gloat. She just looked at him, waiting. He exhaled slowly. "I misjudged you." She nodded. "Yeah, you did." Silence stretched between them. Then Vorkal did something no Dominion officer had ever done before. He extended his clawed hand, a silent acknowledgement of respect. Erin looked at it for a moment, then shook it. "Lesson 3, Commander," she said, tightening her grip. "Never doubt the ones who can kill you before you even see them." For once, Vorkal had no argument. Precision and retribution. The battlefield was eerily quiet. Smoke drifted across the ruined cityscape, curling around the shattered remains of Dominion artillery emplacements. Scattered Kragorian corpses littered the ground, some still smoldering from incendiary rounds, others left as unrecognizable ruins of flesh and bone. The mighty Galactic Dominion, for all its technological prowess, had not won this battle. Human snipers had. Erin Carter surveyed the ruins from her perch, adjusting the scope of her rifle. The Kragorians had retreated, but they weren't beaten yet. This was only the first wave. More would come. Vorkal's voice crackled through the comms, far more measured than before. "We should press the advantage and pursue. Their ranks are broken. Now is the time to finish them." Erin exhaled slowly. "If we charge in now, we're playing into their hands. The alien commander bristled. We have momentum. They have numbers. And you've already lost half your forces. Erin's tone was flat. You push forward, they regroup and hit you from the flanks. This is where you stop and let us do our job. A long silence. Then, reluctantly, Vorkal asked, And what is your plan, Sergeant? Erin adjusted her scope. In the distance, through the heat haze of smoldering wreckage, she could see movement. The Kragorians weren't fleeing in chaos anymore. They were reforming. They're consolidating, she murmured, regrouping around their new war leader. If we let them gather, this whole thing starts over. Jason Park's voice cut in over the comms. So we cut the head off. Exactly. Erin marked a waypoint on the Dominion battle network. A ruined industrial tower just outside the city perimeter. That's their new rally point. We take out their leader before they're ready, and this war ends here. Vorkal hesitated. Then, grudgingly, he gave the order. All Dominion forces hold position. The humans will take care of it. For the first time, he sounded like he actually believed they could. The sniper team moved under cover of darkness. Erin, Jason, Nadia, and Raoul navigated through the ruins with practiced efficiency, using the terrain to mask their approach. The Kragorians were predictable. They had gathered in a defensible position, setting up sentries and heavy weapons at key choke points. They thought they were safe. They weren't. Erin and Jason took positions on an abandoned skyscraper overlooking the rally point. Nadia and Raoul circled to the west, setting up alternative firing angles. Through her scope, Erin found their new war leader, a massive Kragorian, standing nearly 10 feet tall, clad in layered bioarmor. He was barking orders, rallying his warriors. A single clean shot to the head, and, damn it, she muttered. The leader was moving constantly, never staying still for more than a second. Even worse, he was shielded by two massive guards, both wearing crude but effective anti-ballistic plating. Jason exhaled beside her. That's not going to be an easy shot. Erin smiled slightly. Good thing I don't do easy. She adjusted her aim, scanning for patterns in the war leader's movement. The way he gestured, the pauses between his commands. Every leader had a rhythm. There, a 3-second window. He stopped moving briefly every time he turned to address his second-in-command. 3 seconds was all she needed. She steadied her breathing, focused, squeezed the trigger. The shot cracked through the night, a perfect execution. The Kragorian leader's skull exploded, a fine mist of dark green blood spraying across his guards. Chaos erupted. Kragorian warriors roared in panic, their formation crumbling without central command. Some scrambled for cover. Others turned wildly, searching for the unseen assassin. That was their final mistake. Nadia and Raoul opened fire from the west, their rounds cutting down sentries before they even knew they were under attack. Jason followed up with a rapid series of shots, eliminating key heavy weapon operators. Erin lined up her next target, a war shaman attempting to take control. One shot, and his head snapped backward. It was surgical, efficient, devastating. Within minutes, the Kragorians were breaking. They had relied on brute force, overwhelming numbers, but against an enemy they couldn't see, one that struck with precision and calculated malice. They were helpless. They turned and ran. The mighty Kragorian horde, terror of the Outer Rim, routed by a handful of human snipers. Vorkal stood at the edge of the battlefield, watching the Kragorians flee into the night. His forces hadn't fired a single additional shot. They had simply watched as the humans dismantled their enemy with terrifying efficiency. He turned as Erin and her team approached, their rifles slung over their shoulders, faces unreadable. The Dominion officer exhaled. I was wrong about you, he admitted, his voice quieter than usual. I see that now. Erin met his gaze evenly. Took you long enough. A slow, grudging smile crossed the reptilian's face. You are dangerous. Jason snorted. You're just figuring that out now? Vorkal regarded them for a moment. Then, with deliberate precision, he placed a fist over his chest. The Dominion salute, a gesture of deep respect. Erin nodded. Lesson 4, Commander, she said, returning the gesture. There's nothing more terrifying than an enemy you never see coming. The war was over, and the Galactic Dominion would never underestimate humanity again. The respect earned through blood. The Kragorian horde was broken. What had started as a full-scale planetary assault had ended in a humiliating retreat. The Galactic Dominion, once convinced of its technological superiority, had been saved, not by its advanced weaponry, not by its overwhelming force, but by a handful of human snipers wielding so-called primitive weapons. Now, the battlefield lay in eerie silence. Smoke curled from the wreckage of Dominion war machines, mingling with the pungent stench of charred Kragorian flesh. The once mighty legions of the Dominion stood in stunned silence, their cybernetic eyes scanning the devastation, trying to comprehend how such a small force had turned the tide. At the center of it all, Erin Carter and her sniper team stood, their rifles slung over their shoulders, their faces unreadable. Commander Vorkal stepped forward, his usual arrogance tempered into something more uncertain. His yellow eyes flicked between the human soldiers, lingering on Erin. He had never respected humans, not truly. They were a tool, a resource at best. But now he wasn't sure who had truly been the superior force on this battlefield. The Dominion had learned a harsh lesson today, and Vorkal had learned one of his own. The debriefing. Back on the Dominion command ship, the War Council gathered in the Grand Strategy Chamber. Massive holographic displays projected data from the battle, casualty reports, strategic breakdowns, and a high-definition replay of the sniper team's intervention. For the first time in Dominion history, an AI strategist had no recommendations. It had calculated a 98% probability of Dominion victory before the battle began. Now it was recalculating. Vorkal stood at the head of the chamber, flanked by his surviving officers. Across from him, Erin and her team sat, arms crossed, waiting. One of the Dominion warlords, a towering insectoid named Cherik Vex, clicked his mandibles in frustration. This battle was an embarrassment. Our forces should have crushed the Kragorian horde. Instead, we were slaughtered like prey. A robotic strategist, Unit 92, chimed in. The failure was due to reliance on energy-based weaponry against an opponent with biological resistances. Human forces utilized kinetic projectiles with high precision, rendering enemy armor ineffective. Recalibrating Dominion tactical doctrine. Processing. Vorkal clenched his jaw. He hated admitting weakness, but the truth was unavoidable. He turned to Erin. You knew this would happen. She shrugged. I told you. Plasma weapons don't work on everything. Another officer, a sleek, amphibious Dominion admiral, scoffed. And yet, you humans insist on using outdated technology. You rely on mechanical skill rather than AI guidance. It is inefficient. Jason Park leaned back in his chair. Yeah? How'd that efficiency work out for you? Silence. Nadia Voss smirked. Face it, if it weren't for our inefficient tactics, you'd all be Kragorian stew right now. Vorkal exhaled sharply. Enough. He met Erin's gaze. Tell me, if you had command of Dominion forces before the battle, how would you have fought? Erin leaned forward, resting her arms on the table. You rely too much on brute force. Big guns, big armies, big explosions. That works against some enemies. Not all. She tapped a finger on the holographic map, highlighting enemy movements. If I were in charge, I would have set up ambush corridors, channeled the Kragorians into kill zones where heavy weapons could be used efficiently. Instead of orbital bombardment, I'd have used precision artillery strikes on their command structure first. Cut the head off the snake before it can bite. Jason nodded. And I wouldn't have thrown elite troops in a melee combat with creatures designed for it. Your men got slaughtered because they weren't ready for close quarters. Vorkal frowned. You think we should fight like humans? Erin met his gaze evenly. I think you should fight smart. The room was silent. Then, slowly, Vorkal nodded. Perhaps you are right. It was not an admission the Dominion made lightly. A new order. 3 days later, Erin and her team were standing on the Dominion's primary warship, the Obsidian Mantle, watching as the fleet repositioned itself in orbit. Repairs were underway. Survivors were being debriefed. and new orders were being written. The Dominion had been humbled, but more importantly, they had learned. Vorkal approached, his heavy footfalls echoing against the steel floor. His posture was different now, less rigid, less dismissive. He held something in his clawed hand, a small, sleek Dominion officer's badge. He extended it to Erin. This is a symbol of Dominion strategic command. It is not given to outsiders. Erin raised an eyebrow. You offer me a job? Vorkal grunted. I'm offering respect. He glanced at her team, and an understanding that we cannot afford to dismiss your kind any longer. She took the badge, turning it over in her hands. Jason whistled. Look at that. They like us now. Raoul smirked. They respect us. Erin met Vorkal's gaze. That's how it should have been from start. He inclined his head slightly. Perhaps. But respect, Sergeant Carter, is earned through blood. She nodded. That's one thing we agree on. As the Dominion fleet moved toward its next war front, one thing was certain. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again.